Hello, and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Today we take a look at a criminal gang who were notorious in the southwest criminal underworld. In the St Paul's district of Bristol lies the story of one of the most dangerous drug gangs of the 1990s, the Aggi Crew. The Aggi Crew operated from the early 1990s until its violent end in 1998. The crew was led by Clinton Wilson, who was also known as King Aggi. The group dominated the drug scene, and so much so that it became known as the crack cocaine capital city of the UK. The name Aggi Crew originates from an abbreviation of aggravated burglary, which the gang frequently participated in. It is also an acronym of the names of the members of the crew. Towards the end of the 1990s, Jamaican criminals had been moving in on Bristol, as well as many other British towns and cities. At that time, the area was rife with poverty and gang activity, which made it quite a dangerous area to live in, and the perfect environment for developing a thriving drugs gang. In the Aggi Crew's origins, it was just Mr. Wilson and two of his friends when they were merely teenagers. Living in poverty was difficult, and they wanted to find a new way to make money. Opportunities in the city were very limited in poorer communities, as there was less funding for projects, and job openings were rarer and harder to come across, so it was harder to make a living. It began with muggings, simply to obtain money to survive, as they were not earning enough from their youth training scheme. However, things soon started to become very violent, and the crew would hurt those who refused to hand over their cash. Mr. Wilson stated that all I was being offered as a young'un was YTS, which was the youth training scheme. I was earning more money than the YTS when I was 13. You have to think, like, before this, we might be out all day for £20. There's been days where we've robbed 4 or 5 people and just got a fiver between 10 of us. We were prepared to do anything to anybody just to make some money. Eventually, the Aggi Crew had enough of not earning enough money from robbery, so they went on to sell crack cocaine on the streets of Bristol, as it had much higher rewards. The gang started to grow in numbers at this point, and the surrounding areas of St Paul's district became populated with drug dealers and runners. They also started to carry guns to maintain control and domination, which triggered the police to release more armed forces onto the streets for people's safety. Frequent police raids were carried out at known drug dealers' accommodations, but the problem was not getting any better. They weren't afraid to hurt people, as Mr. Wilson bluntly states. We'd only take our gun out if we was going to shoot somebody. However, Mr. Wilson also states that he has never shot anyone himself. In Bristol, the Black White Caf is known for being a hotspot for drug activity. It was also the site of the St Paul's riot of 1980 of the ethnic minority, specifically the black youth of Bristol. Some news sources state that the riot involved 100 to 200 people, but other sources state that there was a crowd of over 2,000 participants. 130 people were arrested and 90 were charged. As a result of this, the local government started to pay attention to issues that arose and attempted to do something about them. However, poverty is still widespread across this area. It has been reported that the Black White Cafe in Bristol was raided more times than anywhere else in the country, often has led to more drugs being found, which in turn gave the area a much worse reputation than it had to begin with. This has made a vicious cycle, as the lower reputation inevitably causes house prices to fall, which means the majority of the population inhabiting the area are living in poverty. Businesses are therefore less attracted to the area, meaning there is less work for everyone. This also means that people have to find other means of making money. The Black and White Cafe served food, but its success was majorly contributed to the booming Class A drug trade which was taking place inside the business. However, due to legal action, the cafe closed its doors in 2004 and has since been demolished and been replaced by new homes. For the Aggi Crew, this was their drugs den, their territory, from where they sold their product and where people knew they could go to get their stuff to get high. In 2003, after some members of the crew had been released from prison, a fight started over the cafe. When the group had vacated the premises and had been arrested after a previous police raid, other gangs such as the Aggi Crew and the Mountain View Posse, who were also in alliance with smaller groups such as the Back to Back gang and Gucci, moved in on the Aggi Crew's territory, now claiming it as theirs. The Aggi Crew obviously did not approve of this and set out to claim what they believed was theirs. The Aggi Crew armed themselves with guns and stormed the pubs, shops and streets, demanding that rival gangs and gangsters who had moved in on their territory must pay them tax in order for them to continue running their trade from their territory. The Aggi Crew had ordered the rival gangsters to pay £50 per person daily and £100 per business, and if they didn't pay up, they would suffer the consequences. The new gangs did not agree with these terms, as they believed it was their right to stay there and refused to pay the Aggi Crew the money. This created a lot of tension in the city between the groups, and eventually a violent turf war broke out between the gangs. An article from a national newspaper in 2003 states that 5 members of the Aggi Crew put on balaclavas, picked up guns, and made a personal tour of the local bars of Bristol. This included the Black Swan, the Malcolm X Centre, Lebeck's and the Caribbean Club. The Aggi Crew announced that they were taking over. Gun crime in Bristol increased dramatically after this. The first incident involved a Aggi Crew member being shot, followed by a shooting of an Aggi Crew member. There were many shootings that followed, kidnappings of opposing gang members for negotiation, and as an act of disrespect towards the other rival gangs, the Aggi Crew robbed everyone at gunpoint at the Black and White Cafe, taking all their money and belongings, and later shot fireworks into the building to try and provoke a gunfight. There were deaths of members on both sides of the fight, and many were injured. There was also a lot of property damage, due to the dangerous nature of their actions. The police arrested the majority of the crew at the site, and more through raids of the homes of the members of the gang. After this incident, armed police were released to patrol the streets, as there was a constant fear that further gang violence was going to occur. The feud was going to be very short-lived. In 1998, the reign of the Aggi Crew ended. 300 police officers were involved in raids in which they found many guns, including pistols and shotguns, lots of ammunition, and had arrested 6 members after they caught them holding and dealing an estimated £1 million worth of crack cocaine inside their drugs den. Mr. Wilson was arrested and was given 2 prison sentences, one for 5 years and one for 7 years, whilst some of the other members of the gang were deported back to their home country of Jamaica. In 2019, Mr. Wilson, the former leader of the multi-million-pound Bristol drugs empire, is now also a rapper, spoke on a documentary Beyond the Front Line on the BBC, talking about how he has left a life of crime behind and is very, very sorry. Definitely very sorry for the people that he has hurt and that he has robbed. Mr. Wilson is now dedicated to helping men and youth in his community through a new scheme which is helping the police to lessen the amount of knife crime, street crime and drug offences occurring in the lower income areas of the UK. Mr. Wilson hopes to help those in poor circumstances avoid slipping into a life of crime and ending up spending a period of their life in jail. Instead of being sent to prison when you are arrested, Young offenders between the ages of 16 and 21 can join the call-in program, where they are given access to free education, apprenticeships, agility and fitness training, and even driving lessons to help them get back on the right path and try and find legal ways to make money instead of turning to crime. Statistics show that the scheme has proven to be effective. However, there has been one instance where a member has been kicked off the program due to being found selling Class A drugs. Nevertheless, the program is proving to have a positive influence on the community. The Aggi Crew had a huge impact on the drug scene in Bristol due to their violent nature and the events of what happened in their reign. Many other gangs in Bristol have tried to follow in their footsteps ever since. Drug dealing is still a very prominent problem in the city, but police and local government are doing everything they can to try and tackle the problem. The crime rate has decreased since the gang has dispersed, but the Aggi Crew's mark is still prominent and will stay prominent in the UK criminal history. What are your opinions of the Aggi Crew? Do you believe the crime rate in Bristol has dropped since the Aggi Crew dispersed? Mr. Wilson has been able to turn his life around and is now able to help those in a less fortunate position than himself not go down the wrong path and make the same mistakes that he once made. This is a challenging feat, especially for someone who was as entrenched as Mr. Wilson was in the criminal underworld. We wish him all the best in the future with his music and with helping the younger generation make the right choices. Thank you for joining us today. If you liked today's content, please don't forget to like and share. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see more street crime UK content, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you can join us on the next video. Thank you for joining us today, and until next time, stay safe.